Okay, all right. Dr. Bhattacharya, your thoughts on the prevailing situation between the United States and India. But do you think that this is the hyperbolic nature that Donald Trump is so used to uh, you know uh, dealing with when it comes to getting his own way? He's done this with other countries as well. He started out with this huge number, and then of course after negotiations it has come down. Do you think this is just a tactic that Donald Trump is so accustomed to?
Well, a tactic can be understandable, but the intemperate statements are not understandable. Reminds me of another head of state called Idi Amin of Uganda, who had a specific disease which would let him, which would make him make intemperate statements. So maybe there is some underlying condition that the head of the U.S. administration has.
So you're calling Donald
Because
Trump a dictator?
well, the point is the statements are not statesmanly in that sense. A president of the most powerful nation on this planet is not expected to make such statements. He may negotiate. And that's fully within his sovereign right. He has been elected by the people of America to negotiate on behalf of them. So he can come out with 200% as the tariff rates and then negotiate it down to, let's say, 15% with the European Union. However, the statements he makes is not something which would be under, as Vajpayee ji would say, under Raj Dharm. So it is not really aligned to the status of the president. Having said that, we must understand where our honorable Prime Minister is coming from, is the fact that the US president has actually had wins. He has been able to get access to very large markets at zero duty, while putting a 15% duty on the imports that he's going to get from, let's say, European Union and some of the other economies with whom he has been able to get a negotiated settlement. However, are these good for EU or the other countries? The answer is clearly no. The Europeans are complaining about it because they have signed off for the next few generations that they will always have zero duty imports from US and will be taxed at 15% for their exports into the US. The other point we need to see, which is actually what the Prime Minister also mentioned, is that when we are talking about Swadeshi, we also need to talk about not just manufacturing, but also conserving some of our vital minerals. The US put a 25% duty on India, but excluded barytes from it, because barytes is very critical for the drilling that the US president and the US economy needs to do to pump out oil from their economy. Now, there's very little barytes all over the world. India is one of the largest barytes deposits, but we are merely exporting that. In the next 6 to 7 years, we'll be finished with barytes. And then we'll be dependent on China and Morocco or the other countries who actually have barytes. So it's an issue of not just consuming made in India, but it's also to conserve the minerals that we have. In fact, Mr. Mehta talked about textiles. There is a huge domestic lobby which is say, let's open up the upstream of textiles and start importing from China, no matter what the repercussions may be, because our textile industry is suffering. Now, obviously, we have to face a little bit of pain. When US applies a 25% duty, it is not that India is paying 25% duty, it's Americans who are going to pay 25% duty. There will be pain in the US. So they're cutting their nose to spite their face. However, we need to be a little bit more moderate, and but make sure that we ensure that even the upstream of our industries become indigenized. Otherwise, every single downstream will say, let's have free imports from China or from wherever else. In fact, there is no level playing field that we see, because we have put a whole bunch of constraints on our MSMEs. They have to produce as per environmental norms set over here. For example, for man-made fibers, for the viscose, we can't cut trees, but that is allowed in Indonesia and by and others, and that is something we are importing. So if you look at the complete context, we need to have Swadeshi for sure, but also if we sign any agreement with US, it will have repercussions with all our
Fair
other
enough, sir.
agreements.
We've completely run out of time, but appreciate everybody who joined us and shared their perspective on this evolving situation, if we can call it that. We take a short break now. We'll be right back.